Hello and welcome to this edition of You and the Law. On You and the Law, we add law to the news. We also discuss other issues of law outside the news. My name is Ekeminudim. I'm a legal practitioner and I'm always glad to be your host on this show. In today's episode of the program, we are discussing fundamental rights under the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, most people in society do not know their rights, and so their rights are easily trampled upon by others without any remedy to them whatsoever. The question then is, what are fundamental rights? Fundamental rights are basic human rights which belong to everybody, every person, by virtue of being human. The only qualification for enjoyment of fundamental rights is the fact that you are human. That's the only qualification. And therefore, fundamental rights come to man naturally as a result of his being a human person. For that reason, the law frowns against the deprivation of anybody of his fundamental rights. Right from time, the powerful, the very strong people in society, the police, the army, security agencies, name them, they have been in the habit of depriving citizens of their fundamental rights. The citizens also deprive fellow citizens of their fundamental rights. And so it is our mission on You and the Law today to give you a breakdown, a rundown of the basic fundamental rights in the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the question is, what are these basic rights under the Constitution? 1. Right to life. Right to life is found in Section 33 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and it simply provides that everyone shall be entitled to the right to be alive, the right to life. And therefore, that right cannot be taken away by anybody, by any government, except upon a pronouncement of a court of law or any other lawfully justified reason. So generally, every Nigerian citizen is entitled to the right to life. The second fundamental right is the right to dignity of human person, which is found in Section 34 of the Constitution. It says simply that I have the right to the dignity of my person, and I should not be treated like a slave. I should not be treated anyhow or like an animal. I must be treated like a human being, and that is the essence of the right to dignity of human person. The third fundamental right in the Constitution is the right to personal liberty, which is in Section 35 of the Constitution. It simply says that I have the right to move freely. I have the right not to be restrained. I have the right to enjoy my freedom, which is natural, and so on. And so if you restrain the personal liberty of a Nigerian citizen without any lawful justification, you are in breach of that right in the Constitution. The next right is the right to fair hearing, which is in Section 36 of the Constitution. Now, that right simply means that you cannot condemn a man before hearing from him. You must hear him out in spite of the allegation that must have been made against him. You have to give him that fair hearing before you can condemn him. Remember, even in the Garden of Eden, God did not just condemn the occupants of the Garden of Eden, but gave them an opportunity to speak. So Adam was given an opportunity to speak, and that is seen to be the origin of fair hearing in the universe. And so under the Nigerian law, that aspect, that principle of fair hearing has been enshrined, and you cannot just condemn a man before hearing from him. The right number 5 is the right to private family life. Okay? So that right simply means that every citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is entitled to right to have his family and then have the privacy in the family, private family life without undue interference. And that is found in Section 37 of the Constitution. Now, the number 6 fundamental right in the Constitution is the right to freedom of thoughts, freedom of conscience, and freedom of religion. And that is in Section 38. That simply means that I have the right to worship in any denomination I want to worship. I have the right to belong to any religion of my choice. I have the right to hold my thoughts without being, coerced to to hold a particular opinion. I have these rights enshrined in the Constitution. It is available to every other Nigerian citizen. The number 7 right is the right to freedom of expression and the press. This right simply means that every Nigerian citizen shall be free to express his opinion at any time that he wishes to do so. And that is why the ban on Twitter recently in Nigeria is said to be a breach of that right of the Constitution, which is a right to freedom of expression. Now, the number 8 fundamental right is the right to peaceful assembly and association. That right simply means that, you have that freedom to belong to a political association of your choice, a social association of your choice, a socio-political association of your choice, a church association of your choice, or any meeting of 1, 2, 3, 4 persons of like minds. You have that right. The right to belong to a political party is taken from that right. The right to form and also belong to that political party or any other association stems from that very right in the Constitution. The number 9 right is the right to freedom of movement. Right to freedom of movement means that you have the freedom, you have the liberty to move from one part of the country to another without being unduly restrained by anybody. And so anybody that is arrested and locked up for days and so on, that person's fundamental rights to freedom of movement has been infringed upon, and that person can rightly maintain an action in a court of law against the person that had detained him for the protection of that right. And that is where the police in Nigeria mostly become guilty of this breach of that fundamental right. Arresting a Nigerian citizen, locking him up beyond 24 hours or 48 hours is a breach of that very right contained in the Constitution. Now, right number 10 in the Constitution is the right to freedom from discrimination. That is in section 42 of that Constitution. It simply says that no man shall be discriminated against on the basis of race, on the basis of birth, on the basis of anything. The situation of birth of anybody should not be the basis for discrimination. And so in some communities where some families are still being discriminated, that action is against the fundamental right provision of the Constitution. Right number 11 is the right to acquire and own property anywhere in Nigeria. And that is why, by virtue of this right, the Hausa man has the right to buy property in the southern part of the country. The man from the southern part of the country has the right to go to the north and also buy property, own it, and nobody can stop him from doing so. The last is in section 46 of the Constitution, which is the right to compensation in the event of compulsory acquisition of your property. And that is why if your house enters the right of way that is being constructed by government, as a result of that right, you are expected to be given compensation compulsorily without just acquiring the property, demolishing it, and letting you to go empty-handed. It is a fundamental right that you should be paid compensation for that property that has been compulsorily taken by government. So you can see there are 12 basic fundamental rights in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, in the event of any breach of any of these rights, the Nigerian citizen that has suffered that breach has the right to approach the High Court and seek the enforcement of these rights. If the right is breached and the court finds it clearly that the right has been breached, the Nigerian citizen is entitled to compensation. Compensation is a requirement of law which must be given once it is proved that there is a breach, against the police, against the army, against any other powerful individual in society. Don't forget, your neighbor can also be in breach of your fundamental rights. It's not only the police, it's not only the army, fellow citizens, just your neighbor, your classmate, someone in your workplace and all that can also be guilty of a breach of your fundamental rights. So these are the basic fundamental rights in the Nigerian Constitution 1999, and it is important that you know your rights. That's the size of this episode of your show. Tune in to watch other episodes of the show, and do remember to click the red button on your screen to subscribe to the channel and receive notification of every new video from time to time. Thank you very much for watching. I'm always glad to be your host on this show. I remain a legal practitioner. Thank you and remain blessed.